This case takes place in Russia in September of 2021. Vyacheslav Matrasov was a 34-year-old man who was known by his nickname Slava. Slava is a husband and a father. He worked in a factory to provide for his family, and by all accounts he was a good man who worked hard to provide a good life for those he cared about. Whilst working at the factory, Slava made friends with a 32-year-old man by the name of Oleg. The two became rather close. They would often go out for drinks together and would socialize. Slava trusted Oleg a great deal, and he ended up considering him to be his very best friend. When Slava and his wife needed someone to look after their children, Oleg would step up to help. However, the trust that he had built up with Slava was for an incredibly sinister reason. He had built up the trust so he could get access to his daughter, who was at the time around 6. From what I can tell, for a couple of years, if Slava and his wife ever needed someone to look after them, they would enlist the help of Oleg, who was always happy to help his best friend. In September of 2021, Slava and Oleg were out drinking together, and at some point during the night, Oleg fell asleep. Slava took his mobile phone and decided to see what his friend was looking at. From what I can tell, Slava found an incredibly disturbing video on Oleg's phone. He played the file to see Oleg forcing himself upon a female. Slava then made the horrifying realization that the victim in the video was his eldest daughter. Despite feeling an overwhelming sense of anger and rage, Slava gave Oleg the opportunity to do one of two things. Either Oleg do the absolute bare minimum and turn himself into the police, present the evidence, and admit to the horrific crimes, or Slava would take matters into his own hands. He told his former best friend that if he didn't choose the first option, he would kill him. However, Oleg had other plans. Rather than turning himself in, he instead vanished. He ran from the village and went into hiding. Furious, Slava went to the authorities, and he told them everything about what Oleg had done. After showing the authorities what he had witnessed on the phone, the police began a manhunt. On the day that Oleg went missing, a family member told the police that he looked as if he had been beaten up by somebody. News about the horrific crime swept the village. People in the village were disgusted at what Oleg had done, and on a number of occasions, he had looked after other people's children too. Many became worried that there could be more victims, and tragically, they were right. There were many more images and videos that were found on the Twisted Man's phone, which indicated that this was not his first victim. In fact, it was clear that he had done this to a number of others. For around 5 years, he had tormented some of the young in the village and threatened them to stay quiet, or else. Another victim was the daughter of his ex-girlfriend from her first marriage. For years, he had committed these crimes upon her. Oleg had entered relationships and friendships with people for this disgusting reason. The police were supposed to start the search for Oleg, but after days passed, it came out that they had not actually started looking for him yet. So Slava instead began to track him down. After a week or so, Slava was able to find him. How exactly he found him, I am unsure. What happened next is open to speculation, as some evidence suggests that Slava might not be telling the truth, and this is the point of view of Slava. He was able to track down Oleg and forced him into a secluded forest. It's here where Slava claims that he forced Oleg to dig his own grave at knife point. After digging the grave, Slava gave Oleg the option again to either turn himself into the police and face up to his crimes, or he could take his own life. On screen now you can see the location where this occurred. It's after giving this second ultimatum that Oleg tried to rush Slava, and according to Slava, Oleg accidentally ended up stabbing himself in the stomach, resulting in him dying. Essentially, he ran into the knife a number of times. After this, Slava placed Oleg in the shallow grave that he had dug and covered his body over with dirt. He then left the forest area and made his way back to the village. After some time passed, Slava made his way to the police station and handed himself in. He told the police that Oleg had stumbled upon the knife during a quarrel in a forest just outside of the village. Over a week after Slava had first seen the video, Oleg was found dead. The story about his death became rather big news, even in other countries. Many people saw Slava as a hero, someone who stood up for his daughter and took the necessary action to stop more people becoming victims in the future. However, legally speaking, he had still killed someone who had not technically been found guilty of a crime, and so Slava was arrested by the police. The arrest of Slava resulted in public backlash. Many people in the area did not see Slava as a danger to the public and believed that he should be released at once. Family, friends, villagers, total strangers and online commenters came out in support of Slava, demanding that the father should not face a murder charge. Neighbors vouched, saying that he was a wonderful father and a good man. A local in the village said, "He is not a murderer, he protected his daughter. Everyone is on his side." Even a former presidential candidate of Russia came forward and sided with Slava. One prominent figure said, "If the crime is proven by video facts, then is the girl's father wrong? Any normal parent, mother or father would have torn apart such a criminal right on the spot. Protecting is the direct responsibility of the parents." Oleg's mother spoke to the media to address what her son had done. She told them that she couldn't understand why her son would do such a thing, and told one journalist, "He must have been drunk. Most likely he was drunk." When the police began looking into the case, they found some inconsistencies with the story that Slava had told them. The stab wounds inflicted upon Oleg were analysed, and experts concluded that the injury had not been sustained in the forest like Slava had claimed. The attack on Oleg had taken place in another location. Slava was charged with the murder of Oleg, and if he was to be found guilty and convicted of such a crime, he would likely spend a very long time in prison. This prompted swift action from many people who heard about the case. Villagers began pitching together to fund his winding legal battle, declaring every father would have done the same. Shortly after being jailed, awaiting to be tried for murder, the members of the public were able to help free Slava. Rather than being kept in jail, he was put on house arrest for 2 months pending an investigation, and was made to wear an electronic tag so he wouldn't be able to flee. He was allowed to spend time with his family until the case went to court. This decision is incredibly rare, and never before have I seen such a decision even in similar cases. As the case made its rounds on social media, many commenters began saying in jest that they believed Slava's story and that Oleg, in a freak accident, had run into the blade a number of times. The support for Slava was apparent. Yet despite all of this, legal experts who were interviewed and asked to comment on the case informed the public that no matter how much they agreed with what Slava did, the likelihood of him going to prison was incredibly high. However, in a landmark decision, the charges against Slava were changed from murder to inciting someone to take their own life. This charge carries a significantly lesser sentence than murder. It was in 2022 that the trial would commence, and in April of 2022, Slava was found guilty. He was sentenced to 18 months in a strict Russian penal colony. During the trial, and even to this day, Slava has always remained adamant that the story he told the police was true, and he denied killing his former best friend. Although, despite the sentence, he said he was pleased that he would not face a charge of deliberately killing Oleg. Another victim's mother who attended the trial was interviewed following the verdict. She said, "Of course we understand that he could have received a far longer sentence, and 18 months is not much time." She went on to say, "We really hope that he will get a presidential pardon at the end of the year. That would be a huge blessing for all of his friends and family." Some of you may be pleased to hear that Slava served just 6 months of the sentence after being freed a year early. Many of you may believe that 6 months is too long, and many were still angry that he was forced to even see the inside of a jail cell. But without the public standing up for Slava, it could have been a lot longer. As always, these sorts of cases do cause some division. Some people believe that vigilante justice is never the answer, no matter how heinous the crime, as mob justice can truly be horrific, and some innocent people have been killed. The case of Slava is one that I found to be truly heartbreaking. To see what he saw on the phone of who he believed to be his best friend is truly disgusting and disturbing, and something that no father should ever have to see. But thankfully, he is out of prison now and is able to be there for his close ones, especially his daughters.